All users require a device to access data and resources stored in the cloud. Azure AD enables users to sign into services and apps by using device identities. For device identities to be managed, devices first need to be added to Azure AD. They can be added in two ways, by registering or by joining their device to Azure AD. Let's take a look. End users can register their own devices with Azure AD. This is where end users are allowed to use their own personal devices to access corporate data. This is known as BYOD, or Bring Your Own Devices. Registering a device allows Azure AD to authenticate the user upon sign-in and grant users access to resources via the registered device. The second option is where administrators can join company-owned devices to Azure AD. Joining a device allows Azure AD to authenticate the user upon sign-in and provides users with access to resources via the joined device. However, joining a device offers greater benefits over registering, for example, when combining Azure AD with Microsoft Intune for device management. Microsoft Intune is a mobile device management solution from Microsoft. Devices are enrolled into Intune, and then they can be fully managed. Using Intune, you can control device configuration, security settings, manage access, and deploy apps for both desktop and mobile devices. Azure AD can manage the enrollment of devices into Intune. There are Azure AD and Intune settings that can be configured to allow auto-enrollment, and we'll take a look at these settings in a later video. Once these settings are in place, when you add a device to Azure AD, they will be auto-enrolled into mobile device management with Intune. There are some key differences between registering and joining devices. Registered devices are likely to be user-owned devices, running either Windows 8.1, Windows 10, iOS, or Android. Users will log into their device with a local account using a PIN, pattern, or passcode, which is authenticated by the device. Joined devices are likely to be corporate-owned devices running Windows 10 only. Users log in with their corporate credentials, which are authenticated using Azure Active Directory. The main advantage of joining rather than registering devices is that full device management by Intune is available. This means that an organization has full control over how a device is configured and protected. For example, Intune policies can be deployed to corporate joint devices to explicitly configure a device's operating system, security settings, and also to block and allow features on the device. One issue you may encounter is when a device has been registered when it should have been joined. If you need to join the device, then you should disconnect from Azure AD, reboot the device, and then join the device to Azure AD. The device will then receive the required policies and settings from Intune. If you use the Settings app within Windows 10, you can see if the device has been registered by mistake, as it will not have an Info button next to the Disconnect button. Let's drop onto our demo environment and see how we can use the Azure Active Directory portal to troubleshoot issues with registered and joined devices. I've logged onto my Microsoft 365 Admin Center. I'll click the Admin tile, and then on the left-hand side, click Show All, and under the Admin Centers, I'll select Azure Active Directory. On the left-hand side, under Favorites, I'll select Azure Active Directory, and then under Manage, I'll select Devices. Here I can see a list of devices that have been added to Azure Active Directory. I can even see how they've been added. They've either been registered as BYOD or joined as corporate devices. I can also see whether devices have been enrolled into MDM or not. If I return to my Microsoft 365 Admin Center, and then select the Endpoint Management under the Admin Centers, we can see the Microsoft Endpoint Manager Admin Center, which shows us a different view of the devices. Under the Favorites, I'll select Devices, and then click All Devices. This view only shows me devices that are managed by Intune. On this screen, we can filter the output. Here, we can filter by device action, by ownership, compliance, operating system, and more. We can also drill down into a specific device. And here we can see the various properties for the device, such as the device ownership, any notes relating to the device, and we can even rename the device on this screen. Under the Monitor heading, we can see the hardware, the discovered apps, compliance and configuration status, and also review the recovery keys for BitLocker. If I return to the overview for this device, along the top menu, here we can see the various device actions we can perform, including retiring, wiping, and deleting the device.